Let's talk about the subjunctive and the indicative in Spanish. These are super confusing for a lot of people who are learning Spanish, especially native English speakers, because we don't tend to use the subjunctive that much. To give you a little bit of background, let me give you an example of what the subjunctive is in English and what it isn't in English. If you think of Beyonce's song, If I Were a Boy, this is the subjunctive because the subjunctive usually refers to something we cannot affirm as true. When Beyonce says, if I were a boy, in reality, she's saying this is not ever going to be. I cannot confirm this. It's not true. But rather, it's a hypothetical situation. On the other hand, if we want to say something like, I walk the dog, we are affirming that we are doing this action. And the same thing works in Spanish. But in Spanish, you use the subjunctive for two things. You use it to add information about an already established topic, such as an emotion, or perhaps you just want to add something to information that's already old, or you use it for things you cannot affirm. So for example, in the following sentence, qué bueno que estés aquí, the example could be if you are at my house, you knock on the door, I open the door, I say, qué bueno que estés aquí. Estés is the subjunctive of estar, and we have to say estés aquí because the primary message is I'm happy that you are here. This is already known information. I know that you're at the door because you knocked and I opened it. So when I say qué bueno que estés aquí, I'm not really affirming anything. I'm just adding information in. So that's the first use for the subjunctive in Spanish, and you can use it for anything. I have a video on YouTube where it goes through and pulls out various readings from books that you can go through, you can watch, and you can try to understand this a little better, and it's going to make a lot more sense if you watch that video. The second reason you use the subjunctive is when you're talking about something you cannot affirm, and I'm going to give you two examples here. So the first one is, let's suppose you're at a bank, and you're at a bank in Colombia. You walk in, you want to talk to somebody in English. Well, obviously, most people in Colombia are going to speak Spanish as a first language. You could say, hay alguien aquí que hable inglés. And when you say, hay alguien aquí que hable inglés, what you're saying is, I'm not sure if there's somebody who speaks English here, but you're asking it. You're asking that question because you want to know. So you can't really affirm that. So those are the two uses for the subjunctive and the indicative in Spanish. If you have any other questions, let me know in the comments below, and I will be happy to make a video and give you some examples to help you understand it a little better. One of the reasons this is super confusing for a lot of native speakers is because Spanish speakers who teach this to English people use an acronym called WEIRDO, which I don't really like because that's multiple rules to memorize. But I will make another rule about WEIRDO so you can understand it and start to compartmentalize this and understand a little more.